name is Stacia Namath, and I am the volunteer treasurer for Point Man, Antelope Valley, and the Mobile Vietnam Memorial Wall. I want to thank everybody for coming out here today to celebrate Veterans Day with us. It looks like there are a few spaces up here in our seats, so I am going to ask all of our military veterans who would like to have a seat to please come forward. We reserved the front rows for you, so don't trip over people, but come on forward. Please feel welcome to have a seat up in the front area if you would like. I guess, yeah, today you could trample if you wanted, but yeah, that means you, Mr. Palermo. Come on, front row seat right up here. Terry, come on. Oh, you're sitting there? Okay, fine. You sit there then. All right, but I do want you to know, veterans, you are the VIPs of today. You are our special guests, and you are our dignitaries of the day. Your family, your friends, the elected officials, your neighbors, and fellow veterans are here to say thank you to you. This ceremony is our very small way of showing our love, our honor, and our appreciation of you. Wasn't it great to be welcomed by so many people who appreciate you as you entered this amphitheater? I would like to say thank you so much to our scouts, our junior ROTC, our community queens, the bombshell Bettys, and all of our local citizens for showing you the love and the gratitude that you deserve. Special thanks again to the Guardian Brass for enhancing your entrance with their patriotic tunes. The AV Wall Committee in the city of Palmdale host this celebration to let our veterans know that we are grateful for their service and sacrifice. As we planned this ceremony, we focused on gratitude towards our veterans. Our committee knows that we would not be here today if it were not for those of you who stood up, took an oath, and offered to pay the ultimate sacrifice if necessary to protect the United States and its citizens. We do not take your actions lightly. We are profoundly grateful. It is our duty to make certain that you feel our gratitude. One of the grateful souls on our committee is Linda Willis, Secretary or Secretary General or just plain General of the AV Wall. Linda works as Theater Operations Coordinator of the Palmdale Playhouse and was instrumental in creating our AV Wall Memorial. She is the mother of 6 grown children, including 1 Marine, and the loving Nana to 15 grandchildren. But even with all of that, Linda finds time to devote to improving our community with all of our veteran events. So it is my honor to invite my friend Linda to begin today's formal ceremony.
My best buddy and co-worker, Stacia. Thank you so much, Stacia. Welcome, and thank you all for coming out here on this beautiful day to honor our veterans. Veterans Day is set aside to celebrate the men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces who have worked to keep our country and other countries free. We'll begin our ceremony today with a presentation of colors by a joint high school junior JROTC color guard. Please stand. In the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Here to sing our national anthem is a lovely young trio, Joel Coder, Sadie Gibson, and Cooper Ogden.
Oh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated as soon as the flags have retreated. Thank you, Joel, Sadie, and Cooper.
Right turn, march.
Please be seated. So again, thank you, Joel, Sadie, and Cooper. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm reading from Stacia's script, but she's accurate. You all know I don't stand still for very long. So I have to go get things going and get people in line. So back to you, Stacia. Thank you.
Even Linda can follow directions when necessary. That was good. Wow, that was really emotional. That was incredibly done. Thank you. Thank you, youthful people, for singing. I appreciate it. And Linda, while you're over there, will you please keep an eye on George? He tends to get a little bit out of hand. You know, and if it's not George, it's Dave Corbin. I don't know if all of you saw, Dave Corbin came here from Texas today. Pretty impressive. We must have a heck of a ceremony if we get bikers coming in from Texas. So, keeping in line with our theme of gratitude today, I am delighted to bring you a few local folks who are not veterans, they're not married to veterans, and yet they devote the greater part of their days to helping and honoring veterans. Our community is rich in veteran support organizations, many of which are run and coordinated by military veterans. What sets these people apart is that they are average citizens who do what they do for our veterans out of their deep respect and gratitude. Our first gratitude speaker today is Bombshell Bonnie. She is the president and founder of Bombshell Betty's Calendars for Charity. And she's traipsing through the grass on heels for you, okay? That is gratitude.
So, on a cold December day in 2015, I forced myself to go to the cemetery to visit my father's gravesite. This was not a willful act because I had not yet experienced a quietness in my heart when I think of his passing. As I turned into the Lancaster Cemetery, there was a field of wreaths covering the ground. What a beautiful sight. I found my dad's row, S, and I made my way to his headstone. Julius Albert Stabrani. Not many people know this name. You won't find it in a history book. And you won't hear it on the news. In the great scheme of things, his place would be very small. But to me and my two adopted brothers, his name meant everything. Above his nameplate stood a plain wooden stake with a simple yet beautifully crafted wreath. I saw a tag and it read, "Wreaths Across America." Seeing all the wreaths was in and of itself an experience. I checked out the website, and what I read really moved my heart. Each wreath placed on the servicemen's gravesite is saluted, and their name is spoken so that their names are remembered. My dad's name will never be forgotten. Bombshell Betty's was conceived in 2016, and the heartbeat behind it was those wreaths and my dad. I spun the idea around in my head, and I approached a fellow photographer to team up. We sat down and we made a plan. We started recruiting some models, which were mostly friends. We had no idea what we were starting. As the plan grew, I saw how we needed additional resources. I knew my best friend Cheyenne was starting a party planning business, and I asked if she wanted to come and help with some of the props and setups. I saw a flyer for a veteran color run, and they were accepting vendors. So I reached out to the number on the flyer, and I reached Jack Wilbert, the Vice President of Vets for Veterans. He answered. Now, up to that moment, I had only been a homemaker and a housewife who dreamt of taking photos, just capturing moments in time. And I remembered my dad, and he used to follow us kids around the house, capturing moments of our childhood with his little disposable cameras. When I talked to Jack, his voice was gruff, and he was a little bit intimidating. And I was scared, but I thought of my dad, and I thought of those wreaths, and I thought of his name. I explained the project and that we would be raising money for Wreaths Across America, and he said, "You'll have to talk to Tom." He took my name and he took my number. And that evening, the president of Vets for Veterans called me. Tom called me and he listened to me in this wild project idea that me and my little team were starting. He was just so kind and he was so full of love. And he said to me, "Normally we charge for booths, but you can have it." So we took this booth on with two 16 by 20 poster boards and a sequin tablecloth. And you would not believe it, we got our first $100 sponsor. Tom and Jack believed in us, and they gave me the belief that this project could actually happen. And Tom and Jack were all about these moments. And here was a pure moment of altruism. Bombshell Betty's was born. Now, for a little bit of history on me, my dad was my hero. He is my hero. I wasn't born into his family. I was chosen into it. For me, being chosen was a miracle. Being 5 years old and being in the foster system for a year, I had been to 12 homes. When things like this happen, you begin to feel hopeless and discarded. But my dad refused to give up on me, and he taught me to be a fighter, a survivor, and a patriot. He taught me to reach for big goals, because we should all try to make a difference no matter how big or how small. He taught me I could accomplish anything if I just had some passion and I worked hard enough. My dad wasn't a superhero, but he served in Korea and he was my hero, even if he never saw combat. Every time I brought my shoes to him, he would stick his hands in there to check for Daddy Longlegs. And to this little girl, that was an act of heroism. My dad was the first man in my life to show me what the standard of a man was. And men like Tom and Jack were similar examples. Bombshell Betty's brings people in this community together through our little calendar project of photos. Kind-hearted women and men, smiles, happiness, and nostalgia. We take what we make and share it in this veteran community. That's our altruism. And that is my dad's example, like Tom and Jack of Vets for Veterans. They were heroes who showed us a way to serve. Thank you, all the veterans, for all the ways you have served our country. And thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Bonnie, for sharing your story and the reason behind why you do what you do. It is now my pleasure to invite the AV Wall Logistics Coordinator. Sometimes if you give people a fancy title, they'll do anything for you. So, and it has nothing to do with the fact that Mr. Steve Willis happens to be also known as Mr. Linda Willis, Linda's husband, all of those things. But Steve gives so much to our veteran community through his work as the logistics coordinator for the AV Wall. So he is going to be up here now to share his story of gratitude.
Well, thank you, and thank you for coming out today, and it's such a beautiful day. Stacia asked me if I would speak on behalf of a non-veteran who volunteers at the Wall. I have since the beginning of the Wall and hope for many more years. And she said something about being brief, and she emphasized it a few times, so let me know if you see the hook coming. Give me a nod, but I will talk fast. 1964, I graduated from Taft Union High School, and everything in the news was about some place called Vietnam and the draft. Now, some of the guys were getting letters from the government saying, "Greetings, you're going on an all-expense-paid tour to Southeast Asia." Well, I had pre-enrolled for the fall semester of college, and they gave me a student deferment, so I didn't get one of those letters yet. And it was December 1969. They had the first draft lotto, and I was in that. And so I spent the day with my transistor radio hearing as they drew birthdays. And they figured if your birthday was within 250, you were going. And mine came up 270. So I breathed a little easier. I was ready to go if it called. But I didn't get called. I didn't get the letter. Then 1972, the draft ended. 1975, the war ended for some people. So 1999 now, we live in Palmdale, and my wife Linda works for the Palmdale Playhouse, and they're going to do a show called A Piece of My Heart about women who served in Vietnam. And there were military women, there were nurses, USO, the American Red Cross donut dollies. We saw this previously down in LA, a production of it, and it is an unbelievable show, very deeply moving and emotional, and it takes the experiences of the women in Vietnam, how they ended up there, what happened there, and what happened when they came home. And I decided I wanted to be a part of this, so I went and auditioned, and I got cast as an American male. It's probably typecasting, but we started rehearsing, and we were very fortunate to have some Vietnam veterans and 2 donut dollies come to some of the rehearsals and talk to us, give us background, give us the proper way to say things and pronounce things, and to just give us an idea of what we were portraying and who we were portraying, and it was so helpful. We had just a wonderful show. Well, 2005, they decided to do the same show again, only this time they wanted one of those replica walls during the run of the show, and there were none available. So they decided, well, we'll just build our own. Well, it took a little over 4 years and over $100,000 in donations, and this wall was built and dedicated right here in Palmdale. And it changed everything. I mean, our lives really took a turn. It was 2009, so we started traveling the wall. And everywhere the wall went, we went. And we spent time talking to people, listening to people, asking questions, answering questions as we learned things about this place called Vietnam. And listening to the vets tell us about their experiences over there and their experiences again when they came home. And we learned something about Vietnam, the country, the war, and the wall. And now today it's 2022, and it's Veterans Day, and we're here to honor not just the 58,281 men and women whose names are engraved on that wall, including 3 of my high school classmates who got that letter. But we're here to honor and pay tribute to all of you veterans at every age, young or old, and you active duty who are out there on our behalf and for your families. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you for your service, and welcome home.
Thank you very much, Steve, for sharing your story. Our third gratitude speaker is Bella Donna, community representative of Bombshell Betty's Calendar for Charity. Donna is a tireless bundle of spunk who somehow attends nearly every veteran event in town. Donna, it is my pleasure to allow you to share your story as to why you do what you do.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Veterans Day. I would like to take this opportunity to both welcome all of you and again give thanks to you, our veterans. Not only today, every day. Because of you, we're all blessed to be gathered here and honor you for your service and sacrifices, and glad that you are here. Both my father and my maternal grandfather, and also my great uncle, served in the United States Marine Corps. It wasn't until college, however, when I took a U.S. history course, that I got to found out that my beloved grandfather not only served in the Marine Corps, he served in World War II on Guadalcanal as an air mapper and photolithographer as a technical sergeant. He kept a journal of his time during the war, which he said, you know, we're not supposed to do that, but he did. And he did so by taking a notebook about this big, and he cut it in half with his K-bar so that it was small enough to fit easily and discreetly in his pocket. And I am eternally grateful to him for him allowing me to borrow it, read it, and get to know a little bit more about him and understand more of who he was before his passing in 2015. His journal specifically includes the time on the Bloody Ridge in 1942, and I realized the courage, sacrifice, and honor of not only his service, but that of so many others as well. I'd like to share a short excerpt from pages 36 and 37 of his journal from 1942. September 14th, he wrote, between 1100 and 1320, Japs knocked on the back door of Mole City and demanded an entrance. 4,000 strong, but answer was no. Landed 20 miles down beach and cut trail through the jungle to our rear. We met them in the jungle and had a hot battle for approximately 3 hours. Then we fell back and let the artillery loose on them. Ridge this morning is a slaughterhouse. They put in a rolling barrage that accounted for approximately 2,000 of them. And this is only one of many excerpts describing his encounters during the war. So we flash forward to 2017 through my esteemed High Desert Medical Group colleague and dear friend, Mr. Dennis Anderson, LCSW, U.S. Army paratrooper retired, who put together a team to participate in the Vets for Veterans Operation Restart 5-10K walk run here in Palmdale. It's when I first learned of Vets for Veterans and all the good they were doing for the veterans in our community, especially those in need. This inspired me to do more and help where I could, to give back the love and respect our veterans, you, deserve for all you have given us. The path to volunteer led me to join the Bombshell Betty's Calendar for Charity, to bring more awareness and support for as many of our veterans as we can, through the nostalgia of the pinup style of 1940s and 1950s. Which also makes me fondly remember my grandfather, who always called all of us in the family doll. Since then to now, in just a few short years, through the altruism inspired by Vets for Veterans, founder and president Tom Hilsendeger and his best friend and second president, Jack Wilbert, as well as through Coffee for Vets, Point Man Antelope Valley, AV Veterans Community Action Coalition, and beyond, I am grateful to have met many humble heroes, made terrific friends, and learned to truly appreciate every one of you, our veterans, and extended family, as well as deeply respect all of you, our veterans here in Antelope Valley and beyond. I want to once again express my deepest gratitude on behalf of not only myself, but all of our Bombshell Betty's Calendar for Charity volunteers. To you, our veterans, we wish you a beautiful day ahead, because you are appreciated beyond measure, and we are all here because your service and sacrifice made it possible to do so. Thank you very much, and happy Veterans Day.
Thank you so much, Donna, for sharing your story. I hope that you are feeling the love of our community, the love of what we would normally call an average citizen. What you've done in your life for our country is truly appreciated. In our Antelope Valley, there are many, many veteran organizations throughout our community, as Donna mentioned, that provide a variety of support. There's Coffee for Vets, there's Vets for Vets, there's the VPAN, there's the Vet Center, Desert Christian Veterans, Antelope Valley Veterans Community Action Coalition. I prefer to just say AVCAC, but and we even have our own local Veterans Military Ball presented this evening by tomorrow evening presented by Coffee for Vets. So we have a truly supportive veteran environment in the Antelope Valley. And also, we are so close to Edwards Air Force Base, and we contain Plant 42, so you just gotta love that Air Force, especially since we are so blessed to have the Guardian Brass with us here today. The Air National Guard Band of the West Coast's brass quintet, named Guardian Brass, has been the most active ensemble of the band since the band's inception. They perform at numerous military and civic functions throughout the year and provide ceremonial music not only for the United States Air Force, but for all other branches of the armed forces. The quintet's repertoire spans many musical genres and time periods, including jazz, Dixieland, classical, pop, rock, patriotic, and ceremonial. They are back here by popular demand after a moving performance at the Healing and Honor Field earlier this year. Today's group consists of Senior Master Sergeant Gerald Lockwood on the trumpet, Airman First Class Tamara Vaughn on the trumpet, Staff Sergeant Laura Weiss on the horn, Master Sergeant Jeff Gould on the trombone, and Airman First Class Eric Velasco on the tuba. Guardian Brass is now going to entertain us by playing America the Beautiful and Battle Hymn of the Republic. Wow, wow, wow. I do believe they deserve a standing ovation for that. That was so impressive. Thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you everybody for being here to honor our veterans today. The AV wall has been blessed since 2014, and we are honored to be a United States Vietnam War commemorative partner, recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. This enables us to properly recognize and thank our Vietnam veterans with the Vietnam Veteran Lapel Pin. It is my pleasure to introduce Joe Ramos, who serves as the Senior Advisor and Outreach Specialist to the United States of America Vietnam War 50th Commemoration. But the AV Wall Committee simply refers to him as His Royal Highness. We would like to welcome Joe Ramos.
Okay now. Hello everyone, ladies and gentlemen, and George Palermo. I'm Joe. I work in the Vietnam War Commemoration, and I've been here before. My first visit was 2016. My second visit was 2019, and then we had the pandemic. And when I heard about an incident that happened in Point Man, Antelope Valley, in the AV committee, I went to my boss. I said, I'm going back. I don't care if I have to do it on my own dime. By the way, I think I won the furthest distance traveled. I heard someone came from Texas. That was only halfway. As you know, I work in a 5-sided building that's about 2,800 miles away, so I win. I'm not a Vietnam veteran, though I would have been very proud to have been. For in the 60s, I was in diapers. What's ironic is that 50 years later, I'm back in diapers. Someone recognized me because they asked about my wife, and they remembered in my 2016 speech It was a very beautiful day. It wasn't as cold as it today. And by the way, I couldn't believe I had frost on my windshield when I came out of my hotel up in Lancaster. Folks, you have to understand, D.C. was in the mid-70s when I left. So the idea that beautiful Southern California, where my wife is from, would have cold weather, that you would need a winter coat. In fact, I saw folks with gloves on, and it just baffles me. But this commemoration that I'm a part of was authorized by Congress, established under the Secretary of Defense, and launched by the President in 2012. Our goal was to reach as many Vietnam veterans and their families, and we've done pretty well. With the help of over 12,400 commemorative partners, and I will tell you right now that Point Man, Antelope Valley, and the AV Wall is without a doubt my favorite, which is why I came back. I have seen all 5 traveling walls amongst the 89 events that I've been a part of. And I even got to see where they designed and made this wall. You can see how it's a hometown-centric wall, which is exactly what we want in our communities to honor their Vietnam veterans and their families. So this is the textbook example of what our commemoration wanted to do. So kudos to Mike, Stacia, Linda, Steve, George. I better stop. Well, I'll say Glenn because he's my fellow engineer. But I've gotten to know these folks well. And as I turn 60 next year, it dawned on me, I will have known these people for 10% of my life. So that's saying a lot right there. But with the great theme that you have this year of gratitude for all of our veterans, someone asked me a week ago when I was at MetLife, when the Jets incredibly beat the Bills. You have to understand, I'm a Giant fan, not a Jets fan, but if I had put money down, it would not have been on the Jets. The Bill fans were pretty cocky and highlighting to me that the only New York true team are the Buffalo Bills, because the Jets and the Giants play in New Jersey across the Hudson River from Manhattan. But they were already ordering their tickets for Phoenix, which, as you know, is the Super Bowl 23 site. Pretty cocky. For what it was worth, as I was driving south, I didn't stay for the whole game. I was laughing when they won, when the Jets beat the Bills 20-17. But there was one gentleman that asked me, why do I do what I do, when he heard I did this for 8 years. And I gave him the standard, 5W answer. But I got to be honest, it stuck in my mind for 2 quarters that, I don't think that was a good enough answer. I didn't find him again. But I decided, when I got to the San Antonio Spurs Arena, when they played the Grizzlies 2 days ago, I had an answer ready, and it's as follows. In May 1986, I reported to my first assignment in Aschaffenburg, Germany, the home of the 9th Engineer Battalion. Brand spanking new butter bar lieutenant, and I got to meet my Vietnam veteran platoon sergeant, Sergeant First Class Larry Brigette, an ornery, crusty, but well-respected NCO from Lake Okeechobee, Florida. And if you wanted a characterization of the relationship, if you remember my cousin Vinny, I would have been the Joe Pesci character. And Sergeant First Class Larry Brigette was the judge. And I'll be honest, we didn't hit it off very well. But I knew one thing. I was going to learn a lot from him if I shut up and watched and listened. Especially the fact that he had been to Vietnam, both as a Marine and as an Army. What happened is, as he tried to come back when he left the Marines didn't give him his rank, but the Army did, and the Army was better for it. So I meet Sergeant First Class Brigette, and he orders me that afternoon after the troops are released to go to the arms room, pick up the M250 cal machine gun with the extra barrel, accessory bag, and do not forget the headspace and timing bar. I said, okay. So I got the mule cart, brought it down. The troops were released. Meet them in front of the tracks. We had just gotten the N113 Armored Personnel Carrier. And I didn't ask why. I just did what I was told. I was a good lieutenant, in my opinion. And he went on to explain, demonstrate, guide, and enable me to learn how to put the M250 cal machine gun into proper operation and proper headspace timing. And we did it over and over. I think we were down there for well over 2 hours. It felt like 10 hours. But it was a part of genius to Sergeant First Class Brigette. He knew where he placed me in the motor pool, there was direct line of sight with the mess hall. So as the troops are going to go to chow and line up, they were going to look in the motor pool and see that lieutenant, me, being trained, again, with a great explanation, demonstration, guide, and enabling, so that something special was happening, at least to this lieutenant. Because that Vietnam veteran knew that that 45 on my right side was not going to stop the Soviet horde coming through the Fulda Gap. And I better know how to fire all the crew-served weapons. And it started with the M2, 50 cal. Well, he was also a genius trainer. And the following Monday, we had motor stables. That's when you go to the motor pool and you do maintenance on your vehicles. But before he released us, he ordered the platoon to stand in front of your tracks with your M2s, because you're going to race the lieutenant and putting that into operation. And you better have the proper headspace and timing. I didn't know this was going to happen, but I got some looks. I didn't beat the other three, all three squads, but I beat 2 out of 3. The one that beat me, Sergeant First Class Brigette, released them for the rest of the day, so they had a half day off. But guess what happened to the other 2 squads? They were explained, they were demonstrated, they were guided and enabled. And the following Monday, they demanded a rematch, and all 3 squads kicked my ass. But the legacy and the gratitude, because Sergeant First Class Brigette lives in every one of you that I'm looking at right now. And it continued on, because 18 years later, when I took my battalion to Iraq in the spring of 2003, well, you know what's happening. Sergeant Brigette is on my mind. And all the other great Vietnam veterans, the Schwarzkopfs, the Powells, and those of you in front of me. We were in our motor pool, doing all our crew-served weapons, because the legacy of the Vietnam veterans are the successes of the forces we had from Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Grenada, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Just Cause, which I deployed from Fort Ord, not too far from here. And I will tell you the simple fact that when you talk with a Vietnam veteran to training, don't talk to them about garrison mice, talk to them about being a field rat, knowing how to bring the power of the United States military forces to bear. So I'll simply say that's what I'm grateful for. That's what I see when I talk to you. You are my Sergeant First Class Larry Brigettes. I was asked on Wednesday at the San Antonio Arena, did I ever see Sergeant Brigette again? The answer is yes, 3 years later. Still didn't like him, but I surely respected him. And I wrote a letter because I was in Ranger School. In the letter, I knew he was at Fort Benning, Georgia. And I wrote, Sergeant First Class Larry Brigette, Fort Benning, Georgia, Army Post Locator. The top left was just Joe Ramos, Ranger School. Didn't know, and I wrote very quickly, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm going into my 4th phase, and I'd be honored if you pin my Ranger tab on the parade field. Didn't know if he got the letter. But on that day, coming through the morning mist like a Hollywood scene, was now First Sergeant Brigette. He was smiling. I was shocked. And he was there to pin the Ranger tab on my left shoulder. He stated, I still don't like you. But damn, I'm starting to respect you. And I told Sergeant First Class Brigette, I will always respect you, and likewise, I don't think I'll ever like you. That's the gratitude, that's the respect I have for all Vietnam veterans, and that's the answer why I do what I do. By the way, not too long ago, I don't have social media. I don't do, what's that called, Facegram or Instabook or whatever. But I asked with the help of my 17-year-old daughter, can she try to help me find a Larry D. Brigette? Facebook wasn't working. What did work was old school, something called Zabba Search. And I found 3 Larry D. Brigettes in their early 70s. around Lake Okeechobee. So when I'm done with all this, I vow I will try to find Sergeant First Class Brigade. We gather today to present a lasting memento of the nation's gratitude. Our commemoration designed the Vietnam veteran lapel pin. This lapel pin is beautifully struck and features the eagle's head, which represents courage, honor, and dedicated service. Stripes representing our nation's flag. 6 stars, which represents the United States and its 5 allies, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, the Republic of Korea, and Thailand, all encircled by a ring of blue, drawn from the canton of our national flag, signifying vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The phrase, "A grateful nation thanks and honors you," is embossed on the reverse side with the commemoration's name. So Vietnam veterans, I'll be turning this over to Stacia as you receive your well-earned Vietnam veteran lapel pin. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Point Man, Antelope Valley, for what you do. I believe this is your 13th anniversary. Thank you, AV Wall Committee. Thank you, Antelope Valley, the great people from Lancaster and Palmdale. And even though it's still a little chilly, it's still in my top 3 places to retire. And welcome home, Vietnam veterans.
Thank you so much, Your Highness. Probably one of the most rewarding activities our committee gets to do is to present the Vietnam Veteran Lapel Pin to our Vietnam veterans. It is such an honor to say thank you, to give you hugs, and to show our gratitude for your service. So for our pin distribution, I would like to invite Michael Bertel, Steve Willis, Linda Willis to come to the front here. We're going to be trying to do this in a semi-orderly fashion. So I know for a lot of you Vietnam veterans, you haven't had to get in a line and follow directions in a long time, but we're hoping you're going to do that for us today. And this pin is given to all United States veterans who served on active duty, regardless of location. That is very important. In the United States Armed Forces from November 1st, 1955 to May 15th, 1975. We are going to invite you to come to the center aisle, come forward. If I could get my ushers up here, the Andersons, if you could come forward. They are going to try to keep you in line. We have learned in the past that we roll up our proclamations and we present them to you, and we had a very good, Phil Wallen brought out a really good point. They don't unroll and frame really easily. So we have 2 different proclamations. We have one signed by President Obama, one signed by President Trump. We are not going to hand those out to you during our distribution today, but you can pick them up in the information tent prior to your departure. But to make this flow nice and smoothly, we're going to ask you to please form a single line in the center and return to your seats around the outer edge. And if our Vietnam veterans could do that, we will present you with your pins. We'd like to say thank you and welcome home. Ceremony is probably the best part of my volunteer work. We cannot thank our Vietnam veterans too many times. Our ceremony is not over yet because we have some incredible singers who wish to celebrate the armed forces. So I have told/asked a few people from each military branch to please join me up here as we sing the Armed Forces Medley. Each of you has a program, and if you open it to the center page, the words to the Armed Forces Medley are there, and we are going to have a singing challenge. We want to see who can be the loudest armed forces. Sorry, Coasties, you know you're going to get outsung. Oh, wait, but Dave is here. Dave is here. Who knows? And also, I don't know if all of you knew, but our newest branch of the military, the Space Force, has an anthem. Yes, recently. And because there are no Space Force veterans yet, I have invited a young lady in the Girl Scouts to come because maybe someday she will be a Space Force veteran. So at this time, I would like to invite forward Ricky Valenzuela, representing the Army. Robert Palayo, representing the Marine Corps. Terry Ritz, representing the Navy. Andrew Harding, representing the Air Force. Natalie Topper, representing the Space Force. And John Rondo, representing the Coast Guard. They did actually arm wrestle over it, and John beat out Dave, so that's why John's up here. Please, all civilians, you are encouraged to join in. The words are printed in the center of your program. Guardian Brass is ready to go. We're going to start with Army. Are we ready?
For the right and to build the nation's might as the Army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the Army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the Army's on its way. Count off the cadence, bound and strong. Oh, where we go, you will always know that the Army goes rolling along.
From the halls of Montezuma, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.
Here they come, shooting to beat our mother. And a boy, give her the gun, give her the gun. Spouting our flame from under, off the gun, hell of a roar. We live in flame or go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Always ready for their call. We place our trust in thee. Through storm and howling gale, thy power be. Ever brought us as our guide. Claim our glory to fight, to save, or fight to die. Big we are for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You won, yes. Okay. Who do we think won that challenge? It's got to be a tie. I'm sorry. Actually, I kind of think the Space Force wins because all of you sang that one. So let's go with that. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for the fun. That is probably one of the greatest shows of patriotism. I want to thank you all for participating. It is always a good bit of exercise and a little bit of friendly rivalry. And sometimes after I've asked them to come up here, they still talk to me next year, so that's a good thing. But I do want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here today to show your respect and appreciation for our veterans. Our AV Wall display theme this year is About the Wall, Facts and Faces. This is the 40th anniversary of the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. And a group of dedicated volunteers throughout the country completed their labor of love to find at least one photograph of each of the 58,281 names on that wall. What an accomplishment. We have a tribute slideshow in our information tent about the faces and the history of the AV-76, the 76 men from the Antelope Valley who died during the Vietnam War. This slideshow was created by Parks and Rec Coordinator Isaac Bias, and I want to say thank you, Isaac, for that tribute of love to our AV-76. To continue with our expression of gratitude, you are invited to participate in a Million Thanks letter writing campaign. It is going on over at the Marie Kerr Park Recreation Center across the parking lot until 2 p.m. You can go and write a letter of gratitude to veterans and active duty military, and they will be providing all of the materials. Our AV Wall is supported strictly by wall rentals and by donations. We are blessed with super supportive sponsors and partners in Signs and Designs, Ladder and Management Corporation McDonald's, Green Valley Nursery, and the City of Palmdale. If you would like to support our ministry, you may purchase a shirt, make a donation on our website, or here today at one of our donation boxes. We do appreciate your support, and we've made it super easy by even going with that fancy QR code stuff for PayPal and Venmo. We do hope that today we have enlivened your spirit and made our veterans feel loved, honored, and respected. We appreciate you. You are now released to go get your free meals at Crazy Otto's, Denny's, Applebee's, Black Angus, any number of yummy places that offers those things. If you are interested, on your way out at both gates, we have a free gift for our veterans. 100 gifts courtesy of the Vet Center is a framed picture of the wall in Washington, D.C., and there are also American flags for our veterans to take home. Taps will be played tonight at 9 p.m. Tomorrow at 8 is our candlelight service, where we will place candles by the panels of our AV-76 as their names are read. A true representation of Never Forget. Thank you so much for being here. Be safe, have a great day, and thank you for your service.